time, and for those who say that in these tragedies not the time to debate, when would that time be appropriate then? Would it be after we bury these children? Would it be next week? Would it be before the next one? Because I would make the case that now is the appropriate time.
The left is practically floating above Japan. Konnichiwa, Minneapolis. I hope you like teriyaki. I've been blasting Fox News for my Trump Cybertruck for 13 days straight, and I'm ready to Fox-explain Tim Walz.
Tim Walz strutted onto the political stage, thinking he was untouchable. But Desi Lydic quickly exposed every awkward move with the comedic equivalent of night vision goggles, catching it all in 4K. What followed wasn't just a takedown but a full roast wrapped in satire, dipped in sass, and served with extra spicy irony, proving that politics is anything but boring as Desi turned Walz into the punchline of his own press conference.
He mooned in China. He mini-mooned in Pyongyang. He went to a destination wedding on the lesbian island from Wonder Woman. Forget the Bible, this guy's gonna be sworn in on a menu from Panda Express. Put down the chopsticks, Tim. In America, we eat noodles with a fork in one hand and
Don't forget to subscribe, it helps more than you think. Tim Walz has always carried himself like the dad who insists he's the cool parent. The one who'll let you borrow the car but still lecture you about filling the gas tank back up. In Minnesota politics, that calm, reassuring, salt-of-the-earth image has worked well, but the problem with people who try a little too hard to look perfectly steady is that there's usually a shaky table leg hidden underneath.
Republicans are weird. Democrats are the ones who want to make AP butt stuff a requirement for elementary schools. They're the ones milking almonds, which, last I checked, don't have nipples. They're the ones providing litter boxes to illegal immigrants who identify as Garfield. No me gusta Mondays? Then get out.
And that's where Desi Lydic comes in, armed with her satirical magnifying glasses and ready to wobble the whole setup until it collapses like a Jenga tower. She barely needs to exaggerate because Walz provides more than enough material himself, making you wonder if he's auditioning for the role of background dad in a State Farm commercial while simultaneously pitching himself as a national leader.
There was such a different standard for what you could overlook in a public discourse.
We're also in a time where facts don't seem to matter. Everyone just has their own facts. Everyone in his cabinet, these media outlets, there's no such thing as fact-checking anymore.
Desi simply connects the dots, his awkward smiles, political hedges, and that strange ability to look both harmless and calculating at the same time. It's the same expression people wear when they're holding in a sneeze during church. And that's WalzWholeVibe.com on the surface, but with a face that betrays he's fighting a civil war with his own sinuses.
Hey, stop calling Republicans weird. You guys are being so unwoke right now. Stop it. Stop it. It's so unfair. It's just so juvenile. It's doo-doo. It's poo-poo head. They go poo-poo in diaper. What does weird even mean? What does it mean? No one knows what it means. Why won't they tell us what weird means so we know how to respond? My pronouns are not.
Here's the funny thing about Tim Walz: he's not a scandal magnet. He's not out throwing wild campaign parties, and he's definitely not posting unhinged rants at 3 in the morning. His biggest crime is being almost too normal, too boring, and too safe. And in politics, nothing raises suspicion faster than someone that desperate to look like they have no skeletons in the closet. Because the moment you insist there's nothing to see, comedians like Desi Lydic grab a flashlight and start poking around.
If you ever want to know what the Dems are up to, just listen to what they accuse you of doing. Take the word weird. It was first uttered by a guy named Tim Walz, directed at another guy called J.D. Vance. But turns out, as usual, it's a preemptive projection. For the Dems always call you on stuff that they're about to do or have already done.
And sure enough, there's always something rattling in the closet. Desi has a knack for sniffing out contradictions, and Wallace is practically a human contradiction. Buffett, the small-town teacher turned governor, who preaches moderation while angling to be a national player. Steady for a while, maybe, but eventually someone slips, and you end up with tater-tot hot dish all over the floor. That's where the exposure hits, because Desi isn't just mocking Walz for laughs. She's showing how his carefully polished image never quite lines up with reality.
Don't think it's over. I'm still holding out a little hope that truth will come out and that, there could be a change here, but I don't know. If there's one thing I've learned from being at The Daily Show for over 10 years, it's that I have no idea what's going to happen. None of us really do.
Desi zeroes in on those little cracks in the facade that expose a man trying so hard to be relatable. It loops back around to feeling staged. It's political uncanny valley. Too perfect, too calm, too normal to be believable. Walz, in many ways, is the politician equivalent of beige paint. And beige just doesn't cut it when you're running a state or, whisper it, angling for a national role. Desi flips that blandness into comedy gold, portraying him as the guy who shows up to a costume party, dressed as himself. And you can practically hear her rolling her eyes as she sighs. Yes, Tim, we get it to her, the calm, collected leader.
Accuse you of election interference before they do it. They accuse you of racism before they do it. They accuse you of censorship right before they try to shut you up. And when they accuse you of being weird, you just know the party of drag queen story hour, fat activists, and feminists supporting Hamas have really something freaky up their sleeves.
So where's the part where he actually takes a risk? Well, risks just aren't Walz's thing. He lives in that safe zone where nothing too dramatic ever happens. And that's exactly what makes him such an easy target for satire. In today's world, the safe politician is about as rare as a flip phone. And that dissonance is where Desi goes to work. Because if your grand strategy to stand out in the circus of politics is by being boring, you've already written yourself into the...
This is not how a man moves. This is how a man moves. In conclusion, he is twitchy Tim, Tiananmen Tim, talkative Tim, tantric Tim, tarragon Tim. Back off, Tim. I won't let you destroy the Minnesota
public image strategy. Walz leans heavily on that Midwestern nice persona, but under a national spotlight, that niceness often reads as indecision. It's like watching a guy at a drive-thru who clearly wants food but freezes over every combo choice while the entire line behind him loses patience. Desi seizes on those moments where his moderation feels less like steady leadership and more like someone waiting to see which way the wind blows before picking a side. And let's be real, in comedy, nothing serves up better material than a politician who can't decide between fries or onion rings. That's the genius of Desi's takedown. She's not skewering Walz because he's outrageous, but because he's trying so hard not to be
creep.
Yeah.
A teacher snatches the bully's ass up.
Yeah.
Come sit with me. That's why I know someone's bullying. Oh, you can sit with me for a while. And then I would lean on him. I'd bully him back. He's not a teacher. He's not a politician. He's a creepy guy who can't remember his speeches. I don't know what the hell was in the water in that White House, or was everyone on the same bad cocaine? But Kamala can't speak. He can't speak. Biden was so high he couldn't remember anything. Like, this is literally the dumbest.
Writes itself. Walz clings to his dad next door image while quietly angling for a bigger stage. Desperate to be relatable but coming off faker the harder he tries. It's like your uncle showing up to Thanksgiving in ripped jeans to prove he's still hip. No, Uncle Tim. Nobody's buying it. The beauty is that Walz probably doesn't even realize how much comedic ammunition he's handing over. He thinks his calm speeches and cautious moves signal steady leadership, but really they're the perfect setup for Satire Man. Trying to be...
He spent an entire campaign promising vengeance against his enemies. And if you're wondering who, after all of that, would want to back him up, well, buckle up. It's a long...
Desi is the one bold enough to point at the beige wall and say, "See, it's supposed to be interesting, but it's just beige." Peel back the layers of Walz's career, and the contradictions pile up. He's praised for his calm approach to governing Minnesota, especially during crises. Yet that same calm often earns him criticism as indecisive, slow to act, or flat-out boring. Desi thrives on that kind of tension, because nothing fuels satire quite like a man who sells himself as reliable, but ends up looking like he's stuck buffering mid-sentence. If politicians were internet connections, Walz would be dial-up solid eventually, but painfully slow and a little embarrassing to admit you're still using. And of course, Walz isn't oblivious.
It really is the ultimate clown show, and I said this in the 5. He's a clown without a circus. He
doesn't even need makeup.
He's roaming the terrain. Is there some carnival that I could work for? Yeah. I'll wash your windows.
He's a rogue clown.
Yes.
Who is just an inconsequential footnote to Vice President.
He knows his role in the Democratic playbook, the steady hand, the moderate guy, the one who won't scare off voters with wild antics. But that role comes with baggage, because when your entire brand is safe, it only takes one late-night comedian to remind everyone that safe is just a polite word for predictable. And in comedy, predictability is chum in shark-infested waters, which is why Desi circles, grins, and bites down hard. Walz's biggest secret weapon is that he doesn't look like he has any weapons at all. He's the political equivalent of a butter knife, safe, dull, and unlikely to hurt anyone unless you really...
VP Tim Walz is being accused of lying about his rank, which is called stolen valor. But in Walz's defense in Minneapolis, stealing is legal. But misrepresenting your past for political gain? I don't see that as a problem, said one woman.
And that's exactly why Desi Lydic's comedy scalpel cuts so deep. While Walz projects Midwestern wholesomeness, she reveals that the butter knife routine is just that, a routine. Beneath the calm exterior lies ambition, calculation, and the faint whiff of someone who irons his relatable dad jeans before every public appearance. Think about it, Walz went from school teacher to governor. A trajectory most politicians frame as a heroic rise from the people to lead the people. Sounds inspiring, sure. But the way Walz plays, it feels less like asterisk Mr. Smith goes to Washington asterisk, and more like a substitute teacher who somehow ended up running the class forever. Desi seizes on that vibe instantly. He's not the fiery revolutionary or the visionary leader. He's the guy who volunteers to chaperone the school dance and then brags about it for years like he single-handedly saved democracy.
This is weird. But he disguises it under the costume of phony compassion, a fake politician who masks destructive ideas under the guise of empathy. At a 2017 town hall, he implied 10-year-old boys should be able to invade girls' bathrooms because it's all about safety.
If Walz stayed tucked inside the Minnesota bubble, it might all work. The khakis, the careful smiles, the steady yet sluggish decision-making that feels comforting in a state where calm is often a relief. But Desi takes those moments when he fumbles for words, hedges on answers, or tries to pitch moderation like it's some thrilling new product, and flips them into laugh-out-loud reminders that boring doesn't automatically mean trustworthy. Sometimes it just means boring.
There's something going on that we're missing.
Well, there's a couple of things. First of all, whose balls is he hiding in his cheeks? That's the first question I want to know. And I don't love the way he says fierce.
Yeah.
We've got to be fierce. We
That's from watching
fiercely
a
have
lot
to
of
go up to
RuPaul.
President Trump and spank him.
1-1, and here's the kicker. Walz's constant effort to appear perfectly balanced just makes him look more off balance. He's desperate to appeal to everyone: progressives, moderates, suburban parents, rural voters, but in trying to be everything at once, he ends up resembling a political yoga instructor, stuck in a pretzel pose. That's pure comedy gold, because at some point, avoiding offense becomes the most offensive move of all. It's not that Walz lacks accomplishments, he has them, but Desi frames those wins in a way that exposes the gap between how he wants them remembered and how they actually
For Elon. I would be furious if I was him. If this is who you sent to troll me?
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing wrong to get the guy from D Team to come out at Family Theater and call me names?
His record is proof of steady leadership. To Desi, it's the equivalent of bragging that you managed to microwave popcorn without burning it. Congrats, Tim. Not a disaster, but hardly groundbreaking. That's the sweet spot of satire. Finding those tiny cracks in self-image and prying them wide open until no one can ignore them. Even his speaking style feeds the comedy, measured, teacherly, the kind of tone that works in a classroom but in politics often sounds like he's scolding the audience for not doing their homework. Desi seizes on that dynamic and flips it into punchline.
Walz continues to be criticized for embellishing his rank in service. After it came out over the weekend, he once claimed to be an official bikini inspector. Walz's direct superior in the National Guard says Walz knew his unit was about to deploy to Iraq and went behind the back of his superior officer to resign.
I would, if they were like, oh, Tyrus, man, whoo, tough news cycle. Tim Walz is talking about you. I'd be like, old Timmy, I want to fight him so bad. Why won't he just answer my tweets, my DMs, like just one arm, and I just want to slap the. He's so weak. He brings nothing. If you're gonna go after someone, man to man, hit him with.
Walz isn't the calm explicable. He's the exasperated dad trying to teach his kid how to change a tire while secretly Googling instructions under the hood. The authority is there, but it's wobbly, and that wobble is irresistible to someone like Desi. What makes it all so funny is that Walz doesn't have the usual politician baggage, no explosive outbursts, no messy affairs, no shady backroom deals that tabloids feast on. Instead, Desi highlights the contradiction of a man desperate to appear steady, who's really just terrified of making waves. And in today's political circus, That fear is louder than any scandal. Add in the whispers about his bigger national ambitions, and the satire practically writes itself.
This
I
notion
think
of
I could
tanks.
kick most of their
What he's mad about is his own fault. He's mad about the image that was portrayed of him as the hunter. And who did that? You did that. We just laughed about it because the one thing you can't do is you can't front. You can't floss. Those are two key words when it comes to manhood. You can't pretend to be something.
Because nothing makes a comedian hungrier than a politician pretending not to want the thing they clearly want. Walz may never say it outright, but every polished speech, every carefully staged photo op, every ounce of Midwestern moderation feels like part of a bigger audition tape. It's a reminder that beige might be safe, but it's still the color of boredom. Desi paints him as exactly the type of guy who'd run for president not because he has a bold vision, but because he thinks America just needs a substitute teacher to keep the class calm until the real adults.
Number one responsibility in the classroom is the safety, security, and belongingness of every single child in that room. These are children my son's age, a 4th grader, a 10-year-old, who just wants to go to the bathroom. And their identity is they are male or female, and they just go in that bathroom and use it. End quote. Sounds so folksy, you know?
Politely waiting his turn while the others tear into each other, Desi paints that image so vividly you can't unsee it. He's clutching his metaphorical lesson plan, reminding the class to raise their hands before speaking while the rest of the candidates are busy setting the chalkboard on fire. That's the brilliance of her exposure. She's not accusing him of being evil or corrupt. She's showing that he's unintentionally hilarious. The straight man in a comedy routine who doesn't even realize he's in one. His obsession with projecting perfect normalcy is the joke. Take his folksy lines. My number one responsibility in the classroom is the safety, security, and belongingness of every single child. It sounds heartfelt, sure, but also so rehearsed and polished it feels like it came out of a focus group. The more he clings to that identity, the funnier it becomes. Because in politics authenticity wins, or at least entertains, and Walz's version of authenticity comes across like a sitcom dad who stumbled onto the wrong set and decided to stick around. And the real danger for him, once comedy defines you like that, it sticks harder than any press release